All right. So good afternoon. This is the 11th of November, and we are here to go through the high school assessment coordinator meeting. Lots of information today. So it's going to go really fast. Hopefully, stop me if you need to. Make sure that it is actually providing you the information that you need. So we're going to get rolling. Here are the things that we're going to cover. And as you can see, it's a long list. Thank you to those who completed the survey responses or respond to the survey that we sent out at the end of the window last time. We're going to talk about that. Just touch base on the Achieve 3000 winter screening window. Provide you an update with where the Civics test is at and why that had to stop and what changes are being made. Then the heart of the matter today is going to be about WIDA access and WIDA alternate access. We'll then spend a little bit of time talking about the PSAT results. I'll be able to get that information for you. Then we'll spend just some brief time talking about the ACT and the PreACT, talk about clearing up some of the calendar questions that are out there, updates on forwards, opt-outs, and then we'll be opening up for questions. So a lot of things going on, a lot of information to cover. So that's why this is being recorded, so that if you need to go back or if someone misses it, certainly it's available to you and to them. So once again, our team, make sure that if you have questions, you can reach out to any of us. So it's not only the team members from RAI, but also from other teams in central office that support you, and they're absolutely willing to respond to questions, and we work together closely with them. A couple of pieces that you want to know. Support emails include achieve at, fast at. If you're doing progress monitoring, there's a question. An important one for this particular conversation today is WIDA screener at. We'll give you a team of people who are wrapped around that particular topic and are able to support and getting you answers quickly for those particular assessments. Also, please note that we have a assessment webpage, that we do have public side as well as our assessment coordinator resources page, which is on the staff only side. So you can find information, including the recording, including the slide deck, including the agenda for today. So that's all in that. Once again, department office hours every Thursday from 1 until 2 p.m. I want to take a minute just to respond to the survey. Again, thank you so much. We always want to improve. We're always looking to ensure that we are providing you the support that we need to. We had a pretty low turnout rate from the survey. We had 2 respondents, but I do want to just point out that that it helps us because, again, we need to hear from everyone how we're doing. That's why we're here, is to support you. So communication timeliness, middle of the road, not great. And again, was our support helpful? Yes, by half. And then finally, the ease of finding materials. Again, half of them said that yes, it was easy to find, half said no. I know that there were a lot of issues with getting Achieve 3000 up and running at the beginning of the year. I'm not going to make any excuses for that. Hopefully we've got things worked out, and I know that we're fine-tuning some of the things right now. So if you have questions or concerns as we approach the mid-year screening window, please let me know, and we'll get that taken care of quickly. Also, I want to make sure that you understand we hear you. The materials that we have are not always easy to find, and so we're working on ensuring that the most recent materials are available on the website, that we can share that with you at any time. So thank you for your feedback, and we hope we do better next time around. Speaking of winter screeners, let's just quickly touch base here. The Achieve 3000 window opens when we return from winter break and closes at the beginning of February. I think all the courses are in there. If not, have your staff or you can email and double check, but we'll try and make sure we get that taken care of. And yes, congrats to Deontay. Pretty excited for him. So that's all I have for the Achieve 3000 winter screening. Civics test. So state law says that the civics test has to be the 100 questions of the U.S. naturalization and citizenship test. Hang on, just AJ, I want to respond to your questions because it is important what it is that we're doing. So yes, we can get something out there as to what scores mean, and in a family-friendly way that staff can share with families or just have their own understanding of it. What is given, what is not, coming out of that. But typically it is Lexile levels, and we can get some information out and created for you, for all the folks who are giving the Achieve. Because if we can't use the data, why are we giving the assessment? It's really important that this is a critical tool to help understand where students are at and how they're progressing. Now, as of, yes, thanks. We'll get that table, et cetera, out to you. As of October 20th, the federal questions on the U.S. naturalization and citizenship test changed. So legally, we were not in compliance with state statute. So I can tell you that I found out about this on, I believe, October 20th. Got an email and said, hey, this has changed. You're out of compliance now. So what do? We had to stop it at that point. There was consideration going back and forth whether to continue or not, but I don't want students to have to take a test twice, and I don't want to place them in jeopardy of having to do that. So every single question was updated. In fact, went from 100 questions on the national level to 128. State, according to DPI, as they read the state statute, it says we only need to do 100. So we're going to keep we're working on keeping those essentially the same 100 questions. I can tell you that there were at least 15 questions that were in the original last year's test that were literally dropped. They do not appear on the new test. And so that means there's at least 40 questions that are brand new. And so we're going to get this not only into Qualtrics, but we'll get this in the hands of all the social studies department leads, so you can see what the questions are, so that you can say and help preparing for that. One of the other pieces is that students will still need to pass with a 65%. So 65 out of 100, with the exception of those students who have IEPs. If you have an IEP, you simply need to attempt to take the test. So if you get one question answered and it's wrong, you still actually pass. You meet the expectation. Because of this turnaround middle year unplanned for, we're going to have the English version of the test up and running as quickly as possible. My plan is to have it done yet this week, but I'm going to say it's expected to be online November 17th, which is next Monday. It's actually more complicated than just changing the questions in the Qualtrics platform. Qualtrics, all scores up until that point, yes, will be valid. So students who have completed the test prior to October 20th, we're all good. But once we knew that, and once we found out about the changes, we had to actually go in and make that change. So let's see. What does the platform do for us? It scores all the tests for us. It determines who has met the requirements and puts those students' information into IC for us automatically. And that also includes students who have IEPs. So the platform does a lot for us. I want it to work well. I want it to work right the first time. And so as soon as possible, we're going to get the English version out, followed by the Spanish and Hmong, and then we're going to continue rolling out translations as we go. If there are requests specifically for instance, for French, please let me know and we'll get that rolling as quickly as possible. Or any language, if a student says, this is what I need to have, please let me know. We ask that we get 3 weeks. Wolof, yeah, and Mandinka are two of the most difficult ones to get translated, but we'll work on it. So also, American Sign Language is a difficult one to get translated, but we will work on that as well. So we're going to get this up and running as quickly as possible so that your staff and your students can get rolling on this as well. This is one of the only assessments that are mandated by state statute that students have to meet the requirement in order to graduate with a diploma. So we want to get this taken care of quickly. All right, moving on. Just get this out of the way because it's very quick. PSAT and MSQT, thank you again for all the help from your staff. Results are in. I've been looking at this. I don't know how I can get everyone access to this information without giving them access to the entire district information. So I will be sending to each school coordinator a spreadsheet of your school students with their information on it. If you need more, let's be in touch and work with your guidance team to ensure if they have more questions, they want more information, etc., we can get that. It's just right now, I'm a little concerned about opening up access to everyone's results. So you should see that in the next 24 hours. Now, other things going on about the PSAT. The costs are still being worked out. I'm working with the Office of School Leadership to get the final numbers. I can tell you that the cost for Alliant Energy Center was lower than last year because we used fewer spaces. We fine-tuned that, and I think we're probably at a level that it will remain. I do want to talk about and get some input at some point about planning for next year. I'd like to do it just 1 week earlier, which would be a Tuesday, October 13th. I have to check on the availability. I don't know what's available, but I want to get that in place right away so that we do have options for next year. Also, I want us to think about, again, this is not a decision or a talking point today, but school-based makeup testing. We've had a couple examples of students who said, I missed it, I was sick. Can I make it up? We don't have the ability to do this at the district level, but I also want to just have us think about this at the building level. So please let me know if there are any questions that remain, and I'll get you that information about student results in the next 24 hours. All right. To the heart of the matter today, WIDA access and WIDA alternate access. So here we go. We know the window opens on December 1st. It closes on the 30th of January. Information has already been pulled by DPI. So I've kind of grayed out that. We don't have to worry about that. Again, dates that have already passed. These things have happened. Thank you for getting us information regarding accommodations and supports. Tickets will be printed and sent to you next week. The paper material, if at all you need that, will be arriving on or about the 20th or 21st of November. And that will go out to you as soon as we can get it out. Remember, this is something that comes in those bright yellow boxes that say WIDA access on the side. If you need additional material, such as alternate access material, all of that can be ordered after December 1st. or right away, excuse me, and we should, they will be shipping that out as quickly as possible. So it takes about 3 days to turn around for all of this to actually get in place. So once you say, hey, I need, then it is about 3 days to get it if we don't have it in stock here. We have some materials available to us. We don't have to worry about the kindergarten access. It is critical that everyone who is giving the access be trained. So again, this is a slide that I had from last time. There's a lot of information here, but keep in mind that the training overview document is a really critical piece, that it says, here are the modules I need to take, and here is the quiz, the certification quiz that I need to pass for the online WIDA access administration module. If you are giving the alternate access, that is an additional professional development. If you have already taken this in the past, you can jump right away to the certification quiz, and if you get 80%, you're done. All right. So, a couple things about technology. We know that Chromebooks are the way that we go. Chromebooks need to be up to date, and probably every Chromebook that is in the high schools is up to date, but it needs to actually be Chrome OS 134 or higher. And so that's the most recent. If students haven't restarted their Chromebook, it's simply turning it off and turning it back on that should take care of this. I have not seen a Chromebook, as I've looked through all kinds of them prior to the PSAT, that is actually not up to date. So that's good news. Tech Services has that set up. Couple things that I want to point out. Early in the year, we said that at registration, families had an option to opt their child out of Google services. What that means is they don't have a district email address. They don't have the ability to log into a Chromebook. So that is taken off the table. That also means about, for instance, testing, there might be some interesting twists. In fact, students do not need Google services to take the WIDA access test. They don't need to log into their Chromebooks, and we'll go through that login process in just a moment. So it shouldn't be an issue. If it is, please let us know that, for instance, this student doesn't appear on the list, and it might be because of Google opting out of Google services. We'll work with you to get that taken care of. Now, something that we do for the forward test and for other tests, we're also expanding to ensure that we do this for WIDA access. I am going to ask that everyone who gives the WIDA access, who is proctoring it, you must complete a security and confidentiality form. That must be done prior to the December 1st start date or the first day in which they actually give the test. It needs to be returned to you, the building access coordinator. That needs to be filed and saved for a year. Now, it could be in a paper format, or I'm going to be sending also a fillable PDF so that they can actually sign it electronically. Then you just simply have to put it into a folder, and a year from now, you can trash that folder. But it's really important that everyone understand that this is a secure test, and that there are things that you don't do, like take a picture of the test, like share it on social media, like talk about, oh, I read this question. This was the question on the test, when you go home and chat with people. So it's really important that happens. So the first step is that everyone who is proctoring completes that and shares with you, the test coordinator. The next step is that each test coordinator, I'm going to send a separate document to you. You must fill this out and send this to me. I'm going to be keeping track of this. I will be following up this year because I really want to make sure that we get everyone to sign off on this. This just assures us that everybody is aware that this is a secure test and that it is confidential. In turn, I save those for a year. And I also have to send the same kind of document to DPI. So they save it for a year. So if there's ever a question about cheating, some kind of a scandal like that, we don't want that. And so this is part of what protects us as a district, as a school, as individuals by signing this confidentiality agreement. In the confidentiality agreement, it does talk about I have access to the test security manual. And here's what it is. It's linked here. It's probably more than 50 pages long. You most likely don't want to send it out. You can share this as an email or attachment or as a link within an email to send to your staff when you send them the confidentiality document. It is up to them to be familiar with this material, but they do sign saying, yes, I have seen this. All right. A couple more things to think about when you begin that whole scheduling process for access. Number one, as I've said before, the window opens on the 1st of December. You need to build in this time if you need additional material. So as we get closer and closer to the end of December, closer and closer to the end of the window, keep in mind that 3 days can seem like forever if you're trying to get things done. Winter break actually begins at the end of, the official day is the 22nd, which is a Monday, but winter break begins at the close of the day on Friday, the 19th of January. So there's approximately 3 weeks in December in which to get a real jump on WIDA access assessment. I'm strongly urging you to take advantage of that, because when students come back on January 5th, those 3 weeks until the end of the semester and the end of the window go very quickly, and you actually spend more time following up with folks who have not completed things rather than getting them started. So we return on the 5th of January 2026. Just a reminder, MLK holiday is on the 19th, and the end of the semester is the 29th of January. There is no school on the 30th. So really, the 28th of January is probably the last day you'll have to test. Okay, keep in mind that you always test in like grade band. So we're going to be testing, it's not an issue for high school because it's a 9-12 grade band. But the tiers are really important for the speaking and writing components. All students need to have headsets. Headsets include the over the ears or in the ears and a microphone. I would prefer that this not be a student's device. We don't want Bluetooth. It needs to be a wired device that goes into the USB port on the Chromebook. Just some suggestions. We know that listening and reading are actually components that we can have large groups of students taking the test all at the same time. The group size for speaking, however, typically is much smaller. And this is the bottleneck of what happens during WIDA access testing. With the new wireless access points in all of the schools across the district, they are more robust than they have been in the past. We may be able to push this to 8 to 10 in the same testing space, but just keep in mind we want a good connection, good strong connection, so that all the data the speaking component produces gets sent off to the scoring is recorded and scored appropriately. Writing, on the other hand, again, not quite as data intense as speaking, so you can have more large group assessments. Students still need tickets to get in, so we still have to have that. These are very important as they are secure materials. They are not to be left with students. So if you hand them out to students in a session, they log in, make sure that you pick them up. And at the end of WIDA access testing, those get threaded. There are very few accommodations, but there will be some that are listed on here, just a few. For the most part, because WIDA access is untimed, there will not be any accommodations or very few accommodations listed here. I don't know, Sarah, if you wanted to jump in at all, or if I got that correct.
It sounded good to me.
Okay, thanks. All right, so what does it look like for students as they log in? First of all, again, on a Chromebook, it's not through ClassLink. So students looking at a ClassLink, they need to sign out of their, if they've logged into their Chromebook, they need to sign out. On the original initial sign-in page, you will find an app menu, an app tray at the bottom left-hand side of the screen. And it looks something like this when you click on it. And in there, you will find an app called DRC Insight. So that's the one that's listed right here. That is what we need to use to test. Now, once they've clicked that, it will allow them to choose one of two options. Their ticket is only going to work if they choose the WIDA option. So WIDA is the test. Because the vendor also does the forward test, that's why there is a Wisconsin listed here. Now, once they've done that, then they will have a choice. They can click on WIDA Screener, which we don't want them to do, or what we want them to do is click on WIDA Access. So that is the one that's on the left-hand side. It's right over here. Make sure that they are clicking into WIDA Access. Once they do that, they still have some options. The top option is actually clicking into the test, while the bottom option is an option for a practice test. This is something you may want to do. Most likely you won't. Most of these students, if not all, have had a prior experience with the WIDA Access assessment, so they know what they're doing. When they click on the WIDA Access, they will be taken to the login page. And again, they use the ticket, the username and password that is on the ticket to log in. The testing process has not changed from last year. You do the listening or the reading first. Either one, they both have to be completed prior to doing anything else. That will, in turn, produce something called a tier placement report. It will say, Tim is going to be at tier A for reading and tier A, or excuse me, for writing and tier A for speaking. So it puts me in a group for the remainder of the second half of the access test. So again, speaking will be in a smaller group. Writing has to be in like tiers. So the choices are A and B, C. So that there's a time difference there, how long it typically takes. So make sure that you don't mix students, especially in writing, with in different tiers. All right, so you will all be able to log into AMS. I've got the link here on this slide. You know it's the WIDA Access assessment because right here it says WIDA. It also says it here. The other option, again, as I said, was Wisconsin, which is for the forward test. So this is what it looks like when you log in. You will have some tiles and shortcuts. Typically, managed registrations is going to be the one that you're going to use the most. Likely, you won't have all of these because this is my screen. You don't want all of these. At the bottom, this is important. At the bottom of that page, there are two tabs, one Get Help and one Public Test Resources. Oftentimes, we have a need to share information with families. So you can share with students, with staff, with families, sample items. These are open. You're able to get access to this and share this with the public in general. There is a practice test. So it may be that you want to do that, or you may just need to say, well, I only need to demo this. So there's a demo that you can show the different features of the assessment to students. So they may not want to do practice tests, but you could demo it. Anyways, this is at the bottom of that first page. It is important information, and it is there for you to use. Now, we are, as I said, we're going to be printing the first round of tickets for you. You'll be getting those sometime next week. If you need additional tickets, new student arrives, for some reason there's a mess up and a student needs to retest, we need to reset it and they need a new ticket, you need to know how to get and print a new ticket. So that's what we're going to go through. We're going to go through 3 different reports, 3 different things, a lot of information. That's one of the reasons why we're recording this. So here's what we're going to start with: printing student tickets. If you want to print a student ticket or multiple student tickets, you go to the Manage Registrations section. Again, you need to make sure that in the upper right-hand corner, you've got the school name correctly identified. It won't let you do anything without that, as well as that it's on the Wisconsin Access or WIDA Access test for the correct year. Once those 2 pieces are set up, then you will be allowed to go through and you will have on that registration page, it will show you View Registrations. That's the standard button that comes up, the tab that's open and clicked. If you want all the tickets for a student in a particular domain, for instance, this one breaks it down into generic grade 7, for instance, and the domain is listening. If you want all those, then you click on the print all tickets. So you'll get all of your 11th graders listening tickets printed. However, most of the time you won't want to do that. So how do you get an individual student's ticket is very similar. You go to the registration, you view the, you see the different registration name. Now, this name, generic grade 7, we're going to use as the example. If you click on that, you now get a list of all the students who are listed in that registration domain. So what you'll have then is a name of a student, and you'll be able to check the box in front of their name. When you do that, that's when you can go ahead and print the selected tickets. So you could do 1, 2, 7 students, etc. So that should make printing tickets for individual students a little bit easier. Now, as we said, after the listening and reading portion, you need to have a tier placement report. In order to get that, there are several steps. And again, I'm just going to go through this quickly. You'll get the tier placement report from Manage Registrations, the same tab as you did getting the tickets. Again, you need to make sure that you have your school identified as well as which assessment it is. From there, we're going to go over here again, click on the group that you want to see. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at my generic grade 7. I'm going to do this for writing. Instead of the printing all tickets, you're going to go to the far right-hand side and export details. You want details about those students. What happens then is you get a spreadsheet. And on this spreadsheet, it will list the student's name, date of birth, their state ID. It will give their username, etc. And in column R and column S, it will give you their tiers that they are listed. So the writing tier and then the speaking tier. That is a critical piece that you should be able to get about 15 to 20 minutes after you've completed the listening and reading portions of that. So then you can group your students for the second portion of the access test, the writing and speaking portions. Finally, everyone typically is interested in getting a completion report. Who has yet to finish? How far are we? Are we close? So that one is on the main menu, on the home page, the main menu. We're going to be looking at reporting services. Reporting services, by clicking on there, will get you a lot of report information, obviously. We're going to start with the test status. How are we doing overall as a school? So we're looking under the operational dashboard and then test status. That will get us to, once you've completed the filters, the test status for the school. Now, this is obviously zeros be here because we haven't started the test. but it will show you the status by percentage, what percentage of students are completed, have yet to start, are in progress. It will show you that as a school, and then you will also be able to see how many students have completed how much of the test. Sometimes it's more important to actually get the specific student information. So that would be, instead of test status, that's going to be student status. Again, filter. So you get to your school, and then it will show up all those students who are listed alphabetically and by section for your school. It's easiest to work with this as a CSV or an Excel spreadsheet, so that is an option. You can click and download it that way. That will get you the information. It'll say, here's who's done. You simply sort on that column. This is how I'm going to do it as I share information with schools. Sort on that column, and you'll see who has yet to test, which components, who's in progress, who needs to finish, who is already completed. That's a lot of information about access testing. But here we go. We're finishing up. If you have questions, again, please remember, send them to WIDA screener @ we'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Question always comes up, what happens when we get a new student? Well, you go through the same process as you always do. So start with when they enroll, they start with the home language survey, which determines whether or not they take the screener, WIDA screener. If they do take the screener and they are identified as an EL, that's when we go and roll them into WIDA access testing. We also know that as we get close to the end of the window, it gets really difficult to get students to test, as well as you're really trying to get this all completed. So we're having a cutoff date. Students who enroll after the 23rd or on the 23rd of January, you do not have to test. I'm not going to push you to complete that testing this year. If it can happen, that would be great. But again, kind of give you that last week to finish things up, especially since the window closes on the 29th of January, essentially. Finally, please work collaboratively. Ensure that your staff, your CC staff and your ESL staff are working together. We want the best person who knows the student, gets the best out of them, to be the person who proctors the test for the WIDA alternate access. That means that some CC staff will need to be trained, go through that training process, but it definitely makes a difference for our students. So with a focus on them, we want to make sure that they get the best opportunity as possible. All right. We'll come back if there's questions. We'll come back at the end for WIDA access questions. We're almost done. A couple things about ACT and pre-ACT secure. There have been some questions about calendar dates. I want to just clarify that. March 10th is the juniors only day. The other 3 grades will be asynchronous. I'm working on making sure all calendars in the district are up to date on that. I know I just updated mine. They have updated. If you have a copy of if you've got a copy of my assessment calendar, that should be updated, but I'm also going to make sure that the district calendar on the website is updated. So it's the 10th of January is the big day for juniors only.
Tim, I think you meant 10th of March.
Oh, yeah. I was hoping it'd be the January, but you don't want it to be January. 10th of March. Yes, thank you. Now, I know that you have received an email regarding Pearson Access Next and the ability to use that. Every year we have to say, here is when we're going to test. Here's how we're going to do it. There is a survey link that is embedded in that email, which is specific to your school. If you did not get that or you have not seen that, let me know and I will forward a copy of that to you. So the survey basically says, how are you going to give this? Are you going to do this online? Are you going to do it paper? Are you going to do it online and paper? Are you not testing? Which we all are. So please make sure that you look for that survey if you have not taken it. If you want me to help you with that, yes, we are all doing this online this year, but every school has to indicate that separately. Now, that does not mean that if we go online, that if a student needs a paper copy, that they won't get a paper copy. Just please keep in mind that we're talking about the preponderance of students are going to be doing the online testing. If there are some small groups that end up with the paper version, that's okay. You're not locked into this as a, you said online, so no paper. That's not the case. So make sure that we're all doing this online. The survey came via email yesterday. So if you did not see that, please let me know. I will forward that to you. If you need help with that, please let me know. The due date for this is prior to winter break. So I'd like to get everybody's copy out as soon as possible so that it's off your plate, you've taken care of it. But let me know if you need some support. Okay, I'm going to be very careful, Colin. April 15th, which is a Wednesday, is the day for the pre-ACT Secure, because April 14th, we usually like to test on a Tuesday. April 14th is a non-test day per the school board. It is a religious holiday. So April 15th is a grade 9 and 10 only day. Grades 11 and 12 are asynchronous learning. So again, I'll make sure that that gets on the calendar as soon as possible, district-wide. Get to the end, folks. Forward update. Just some things to think about. You typically aren't too involved with this. There are some changes that are happening to the platform, not to the test, but the platform will be automatically connected to IC. So any new students who enroll or students who leave will be taken care of. It remains ticket focused, just like Access. It's not in Class Link. We'll be spending more time talking about Forward, ACT, pre-ACT in January. So it brings me to the last piece. Again, if you have opt-outs, please make sure you send this to me. I need to keep track of this. I know it's not easy, especially when you're talking about tens, couple dozen or more students who are opting out. If you're building a spreadsheet, please make sure if it's a Google Sheet that you share that with me so I keep up to date on that. That's very helpful. I need to report students who opt out to the school board, as well as we need to place this into the platforms for state testing. Obviously, WIDA Access, there's no opt-out. We call that, it's listed as decline to test. If a family says, I want my child to opt out, be opted out of the test, it needs to be in writing. That can be email, or it can be a handwritten note or some kind of note. If it is a separate note, please scan that and send that along to me as well. So I want to make sure that we're keeping close tabs on this. We had far fewer students opt out last year than we have in the past. The trend is in the right direction. All your hard work about participation has been critical. We need to continue that effort as we roll forward. So I'm going to stop presenting and open it up for questions. I'm going to also stop the recording